Hi everyone, today I want to show you how to design vector assets, also known as Clipart, vector graphics, SVGs, Cricut assets. There's so many different names for them, but it's all the same stuff. Vector-based assets that you can sell on places like Creative Market, Etsy, your own website, or all the many others that offer vector files for sale. I'm going to show you my whole process for creating vectors from scratch, starting in Procreate. So if you want to draw along with me and create some, you can do that. I'm Liz Kohler-Brown. I'm a surface designer and hand letterer who loves creating artwork on my iPad and helping others do the same. So first, let's talk about what these files are, so we're all talking about the same thing. SVG files, also known as vectors, can be sellable graphics on places like Etsy, Creative Market, or your website. You can also use them for Cricut machines or other cutting machines, but basically they're infinitely scalable images that you can use in a variety of ways. I have a blog post right below this video where you can learn about vectors if you have no idea what vectors are, but if you look over on the right, they're basically those little images that are made of points rather than pixels, which is what most images we're used to making in Procreate are made out of. For my example, I'm going to be making a sellable graphics kit for selling in my Creative Market shop. I'm a little embarrassed that I've neglected my Creative Market shop because it only has a few items in it and it still makes money every single month. So I definitely need to be adding more items to that, and I'm going to be using this YouTube channel to inspire me to do that. So if you want to follow along with that journey, click subscribe to get more of these iPad art breaks in your notifications so you don't miss out on growing my Creative Market shop with me and creating more art in Procreate and Affinity Designer. So let's dive in. Here's the set that I designed, and I want to show you exactly how I did that in this video. Basically, what I'm selling is a few spot graphics, a few pattern motifs that people can use individually or make into patterns, a bunch of different borders that they can use as they are or mix and match and move them around, and some seamless patterns and letters and numbers. I bundled in with this set one of my best-selling fonts, and I love teaching people how to make fonts, so I'm going to put a link about that below this video. But basically, this is a big juicy graphic set that people can buy if they're interested in that Art Nouveau look. So let's dive into exactly how I make these from scratch. So I'm starting out here in Procreate, and I'm going to take you all through this whole process from sketch to finished vector ready to sell. So the first step is to create a canvas, and you can make this at any size, but since I work in Creative Market and that's where I'm selling these assets, I'm starting my pages at that size, and that just helps me determine how I might like to lay out these images. Like I can tell here the kind of style I want, the kind of sizing I want. So that's why I'm using this size, but of course you can do this at any size. There's no particular size. I'm using my Everything Bagel brush set, which I'm linking right below this video. I like to get a little bit of texture using some of these brushes, so that's why I'm using this set. This is my sketching pencil, so I'm going to start there. I've got an Art Nouveau book over here. I'm going to link this below. I love looking through old historical pattern books, so I have a few resources for those that I'll share with you all. I'm going to be using this little motif as some inspiration, taking away the snail, kind of just using the overall flower as an idea. But of course, we can work with any kind of shape here. I'm going to turn on symmetry, canvas, turn on that drawing guide, edit drawing guide, make sure on options, symmetry set to vertical, test that symmetry, and just turn down that brush size a little bit. And now let's do our shape. So it kind of curls around like that. That's too big. Let's do a little curl up. Maybe a little flower here. And I think I'm going to add, instead of the snail, I'm going to do a flower. So I'm already trying to differentiate my own work from the work of this artist. I'm not trying to just go and copy a bunch of stuff. I see stuff like that on Creative Market, and I don't think it's, going to do as well as something that you draw yourself. So I don't believe in just going and copying historical images, even if they're in the Creative Commons. But of course, we can use this style as inspiration. So then maybe I'll twist and twist this way. So I'm super into this Art Nouveau look. I actually have a whole class on Art Nouveau style that I'm going to link below this video that you all might enjoy. But for now, let's just get a really loose image. There we go. And you know, these are loose, guys. I don't spend a lot of time on these graphics because the Art Nouveau style is pretty loose, and I don't usually draw this way, but this is how I should draw if I want to create this loose look. So, bam, that's it. Dunsies. Now I'm getting my rough inking pen in the Everything Bagel brush set. I've got pure black as my color. I'm going to turn on that drawing assist, or of course you can leave it off if you want not such a perfectly symmetrical kind of look. And if you've never vectorized anything before, it might come as a surprise to you when you do this vectorization process that you lose some detail. So like if I wanted texture in this, I would include like some big chunky texture because I know I'm going to lose detail when I vectorize. So it's something we're already thinking about in this part of the process. Like, okay, how much detail do I want? How much texture do I want? All of that stuff is super important to think about from the beginning, not just at the very end. With this Art Nouveau style, I like to just draw like little suggestions of a shape. Like this is the second side of the leaf. It's not completely drawn. It's just this like loose kind of crescent shape, and it says leaf and vein without being super, super blatant. So that's why I'm drawing in this style. But you guys know that if you're making sellable vector graphics, you can make them however you want. If you already know how to make vector graphics, then you probably have like your own way of doing that, and that is fine. But I'm just doing this Art Nouveau style because I'm into that right now. And I have to say it's been a very high-selling theme in my work. All my work that has Art Nouveau seems to get a little bit of extra attention. I think the Art Nouveau style is super trending. All right, there's my little leafies. Let's do a little hole in the middle of each of these petals just to kind of show that like shadow look. So I'll include one here and one over here and fill in this whole area. One thing I like to think about when I make vector graphics is that the user is going to want to recolor these. So I'd like to split stuff up in a way that makes it really easy for them to recolor. And I think about like, how easy is it going to be for them to recolor the stem versus the flowers versus the leaves? So I'm thinking about that as I draw. So this is good to go. I'm going to go ahead and save this as a JPEG, share JPEG, save image. So this is where I move over to a different app because Procreate cannot work with vectors, obviously. You may or may not know that. So I'm opening Adobe Capture, which is a free app. You don't have to pay to use this, even though some Adobe products do require a subscription. This one is a free one. You can use other vectorization apps too. Don't have to use this one. So I'm going to go to Import, Import Image, Camera Roll, and pop in that image. There it is. Press the check symbol and press save. So there's my vector. Now that I've saved that image, I can tap on it, tap the three-dot menu, share, export as SVG to the app of your choice, which for me is going to be Affinity Designer. So what this is going to allow me to do is make a vector graphic that is grouped and customized in the way that I think my users are going to want it to be. So I'm thinking they're going to want the flowers to be one group so they can recolor the flowers. So I'm dragging to select all those flowers. Let's just put those in a color so it's easy for you all to see. Tap the menu here and tap group. I want to note here that I have an Affinity Designer course that is free, and you can learn all about Affinity Designer. So if some of this is seeming too fast for you, you might want to check that out. Just dragging here, making sure I'm selecting one of these items so I'm not in a group. Dragging to get all of those petals, and then I'm going to drag all those petals into the group. So I'm just dragging every single flower into the group, tap outside of the group, get those flower petals, find the group, and drag into the group. So one piece at a time, dragging all the pieces I need into the group. The cool thing about that is once they are in a group, I can just press the color and then it turns all of those shapes into the same color. So then my user can go, no, I want orange flowers, I want yellow flowers. That's just going to make it easier for them. So I'm going to repeat that same process here with all of my flower shapes. Now that I have that flower shape grouped, I'm going to make it invisible. Tap on one of these leaf shapes and swipe to get all of those and group those. So that would be one option, I guess. Another option would be, what if we take the stem out of that? Because what if my users want to color the stem like a brown? So then they've got the brown and the pink. So I'm thinking about my user. I'm not just plopping some SVGs in a file. I'm thinking about them. At the same time, I'm going to rename these groups for them to make it easy. 3-dot menu, tap on the name, and I'm going to call that flower. I would do the same thing with all of these. I would name that stem, I would name that leaves, so it's really easy for them. Oops, and I missed a stem, so I would put that stem in there too. So that's my file. This is what I will export, and I export in two different ways. 3-dot menu, export, and I'm choosing SVG as the file type, share, Dropbox, and then ideally I would have already created a Dropbox folder that I want to put that in, so I would put that into the folder and press upload. So that's one way to export this. Another way to export it would be export PNG. This is going to be for all of my users who don't necessarily have, an SVG app, or they don't know how to use vectors, they don't want to use vectors. So for those people, I'm going to tap the first group, 2-finger tap the second group. So I'm selecting everything on this file. 3-dot menu, export PNG. On the area, rather than selecting the whole document, I'm going to go selection only. So that is only going to export the selection. So that means transparent background, basically. Share, save image, or share, save to Dropbox or wherever you're saving your files. So I repeated that exact same process with all of these pieces. And then I put them onto these nice little organized docs so that when someone gets the file, they get this single image that has all of these different motifs on them. Each of them is grouped into their nice little groups so they're easy to format. So now let's jump to Creative Market so you can see how this plays out. So basically I've put all of those files onto these images so people can see exactly what they're going to get when they purchase this. And then I put all the files that we just looked at into both SVG format and PNG format and put those straight into a folder. Then you can just upload that folder to Creative Market, pop all these images in, put a nice little description, and then you start selling your vector graphics. And so the user can either use these out of the box with these colors, or they can get that SVG and completely recolor them. It's question time. If you've never watched a video from my iPad Art Break series, you may not know that I answer a question from the comments every single week. So pop your questions in the comments if you have anything to ask me, and I might show your question in the next video. Here's a question from one of my recent videos. It says, "Thanks for such a useful video. It was hard to find this info. I'm still struggling with file management. How to get files from the internet, like SVG files? How do you get them to another computer? Looking forward to other Affinity designer tutorials if you're going to make them." Yes, I'll definitely be doing a lot more Affinity designer tutorials because I work in that app all the time. Here's how I like to get files from my iPad to other devices and other people. I use Dropbox. I just throw it in Dropbox. I try to keep my folders really organized. What I like about that is that they're accessible on any device, and a lot of the sites I use integrate with Dropbox. So it'll be like, want to share this directly from your Dropbox? Yes, that's so easy. You can also send people links that let them download your content. So the art licensors I work with seem to like that. It's just a really quick and easy way to send files back and forth. So I don't work for Dropbox. This isn't sponsored, but that is what I use. One last thing I want to show you that can be really fun to pop into these graphic sets if you want to sell one of these is some repeat patterns, so that people can use your repeat patterns, recolor them, print them on paper or whatever they want depending on the license that you're selling. So the way that I do that, those are just my Creative Market display images, but what I actually give the end user is the actual repeat tile. So if you open up the layers panel, you'll see that the peacocks are on one group, the veins are on one group, and then the leaves are on another group. So if you don't know how to make repeat patterns, check out the links below this video and I'll take you through my process. But basically, you're building this repeat pattern that people can recolor for their own use. And I've had people like churches, people doing something for their wedding, people using it for their business, where they just want some kind of little accent from a pattern that they want to recolor. So that's the kind of person who buys one of these, maybe a graphic designer, maybe a business that wants to use it in their packaging. And so you're just putting it in this nice little SVG pack for them to be able to recolor. So I hope you enjoyed creating those SVG vector graphics with me. Of course, you can do this on your own iPad. You can start selling your own vector packs or single vectors in a variety of sites that offer that option. So ask me in the comments if you have any questions about this process, and also tell us if you have any experience with selling vector graphics. Have you purchased some? Have you sold some? What do you think is missing out there in the vector graphic world? Remember that I share iPad art breaks just like this that are quick and easy tutorials showing how to make art on your iPad that is professional and sellable. I do these all the time, guys, so just click subscribe and you'll get them in your notifications. See you there. Bye.